Welcome to episode 1 of the RunnerBois Podcast. I'm Hayden Pretty, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Jude Seibert,
and special guest,
Gavin Atkinson.
Today we're discussing several burning questions in the running community. Let's jump right in. Topic number 1, our running stories. So Jude, how did you get into running, and how has the experience been so far?
Yeah, so growing up, I didn't really run like a ton as like throughout school or anything. I just kind of did like, local road race 5Ks and stuff that my family was kind of involved in and stuff. But I ran my first race when I was 8 years old. I got third in my age group, which I was really excited about. But like after that day, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this again. There's no point to it. The award wasn't enough incentive for me. And I really didn't run again until about, I was starting my junior year of high school. I had some friends from church kind of invite me to go to some local runs and stuff like that, and I enjoyed it a lot. And there I met the coaches, Coach Drown and Coach O'Neill, who coach endurance cross country here in Huntsville. And they kind of invited me. It's like, hey, we're going to start a cross country team for homeschoolers. So I was homeschooled at the time. I wasn't in a public school system or anything, so I didn't really have a team to be a part of. So with that system, that was pretty cool that I got to learn about it. And so I went home. I was like, oh, I really want to do this. And my mom, and she's like, no, it's a big time commitment and everything. Eventually, it did end up working out. And, obviously, I did end up running. Yeah, so I kind of just started junior year of high school. And then it kind of took me through senior year. Senior year was honestly like I had like made no progress that year. I plateaued, thought this sucked. I'm not doing this. And I almost gave up, honestly. I was running worse times end of season than I was beginning of the year. And it was like an all-time low for me. And so I actually almost gave up running. Thank goodness I didn't. At the end of the year, I got to talking with Hayden. And he was like, hey, we should do a marathon sometime. And I was like, oh, that's a ridiculous joke. Or whatever. And so that was the end of 2023 when he mentioned that. And then I didn't think anything of it until like mid-2024. And I was like, I am enjoying running. I'm not getting a ton better, but I am enjoying. I want to try some new stuff. I was like, well, I don't want to try a marathon. So I hit up Hayden. I was like, hey, you got the marathon in spring, so spring of 25. And the Erlanger Chattanooga Marathon. I was like, hey, let's just try for that. And so we were just kind of a little bit of a lighthearted joking about it. We didn't actually think we were serious about doing it until it came 2 months before, and I was like, oh yeah, we're actually running a freaking marathon. And yeah, then that brings me just kind of now I took some time off recovering from that, and now I'm just in summer training. And yeah, I think running is probably one of the best things that ever happened to my life.
Heck yeah, bro. Good stuff. All right, Gavin, share with us.
All right. So ever since 6th grade, my parents were always telling me, you should probably try doing a sport, and you seem like you would be good at cross country just based on my build and what my strengths were. And I kept saying, I might try it, but I don't really like running that much. So for 3 years actually, I didn't run, even though my parents constantly told me, hey, you should try running. And then in 8th grade, one of my friends, we were saying together in class, and he kept talking to me about running and how much fun it was doing all the races and stuff. And I was like, maybe this is worth a try. So I went and I tried for a track distance team. I didn't realize at the time the people I was trying out against were all the current cross-country members. And then I didn't make it. And then after I didn't make that team, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stop here. So I spent a lot of time training all throughout track season, even though I wasn't on the team. And then when cross-country tryouts came around, I went, ran them, and actually made the team this time. And then that was really exciting for me because that was the first time I ever got to do a school sport. And so all throughout that summer I trained what I thought was decently hard. I didn't have a training group or anything. So I was kind of just on my own trying to figure out everything out on my own. And then the season came around and school started back. And once I started training at school with the team, all of a sudden I found a whole new level of what training was like. Because it used to be run 3-4 times a week. Now we're running 6 days a week, doing workouts in the mornings. having like actual coaching and stuff, it was a huge difference. First race my freshman year, I ran a 24:50 in the 5K, I think, and that was honestly kind of, what's the word? I was kind of beaten down after that because I was like, all that training and this is all I've got. But on the ride home, my parents were like, hey, this is the first race of the season. Don't let this one define you. And so I didn't. And then by the end of the season, 4 minutes down, 20:30. And then going into the summer before my sophomore year, I was like, all right, it's time to take this seriously. I want to get a lot better. So I went and built all the way up to 70 miles a week and was there for like 2 weeks. And then I love telling people this story. I fell down the stairs and hurt my ankle, which took me out for like 6 weeks of training.
Dang.
So by the time cross country came around, by our first race, I'd only had 3 good weeks of training before then. So I was like really nervous going to that first race. Ran 18:09, almost 2.5 minutes off my time, and that was probably like the best race I've ever felt. The rest of the season, though, was kind of rough. It was kind of just not a lot of improvement. Never got really close to breaking that time I set in the first race. Just kind of couldn't find any more in me, I guess. And then after that season was over, I was like, you know what, I'm just kind of tired of this right now. Like, I've been training so hard, it feels like I haven't gotten anywhere. And I was like, well, I want to go try something different. So instead of running track, I went and signed up for a half marathon and spent 12 weeks training for that. And then got to meet these 2 guys there, which was a lot of fun. And then that race, my goal was to break an hour 30. I almost broke an hour in 26 minutes. So that was like a really special day for me. Kind of was like, because during that training, I had been at 75-mile weeks continuously this time. Didn't fall down the stairs. And it was kind of just an amazing experience getting to see all that work finally pay off for something, which cross country didn't really give me a lot that season just because of, like, I guess the way I was tackling my training. So I did that, ran a couple of track races after that, nothing too crazy. And then now this brings us into the summer going into my junior year. And this summer I basically decided I want to go all in, right? I know that with a lot of training, I can take a lot of time off. So right now we're working on building up to 80-mile weeks. We're getting not just the running done, but also like nutrition, recovery, getting proper rest, doing cross training and strength training in the gym, just trying to make sure every little thing is going towards more performance. Because, like, I know I have it in me to go faster. Half marathon taught me that. I just want to actually make this work for cross country this year. So, yeah.
Stuff, man. It's inspiring. All right, and as for me, I started 2nd grade track season. We weren't normally allowed to go until 3rd grade, but our coach let me on the team, and I instantly fell in love with it. Like, I signed up literally the day before practice started. I ran on the track with my sister, and I just instantly fell in love with it. And it wasn't always the forefront of my sports. I love soccer. I loved basketball. I did those primarily more than running. But off and on through elementary and middle school years, I ran about every other year, did basketball, stuff like that. And then it came time for high school, and I decided that I needed to lock into a sport. And so I'm like, okay, I need to choose basketball or running. And I chose running. And this was right when the COVID lockdown happened, and I decided to run, and they canceled track season, which was very disappointing. And so I was like, man, I'm really bummed. Did I pick wrong? Like, what is happening to me? And so we go into cross country season, and it actually goes really well. And so track rolls around again. I'm pumped. I want to break at least like 5:15 in the mile, and I get hurt. And not just like a a little stress fracture or something like that, like I get hurt bad. My whole body is literally falling apart. I go to a family friend that's a chiropractor, and he looks me in the eye and he's like, I don't know how you can ever safely run again, Hayden. And that hit me hard. And that was the second time I was presented with that thought of, did I pick wrong? Was running really the thing that was for me? But I kept fighting, and I did what he said to recover. And he's like, if you do ever, you're probably never going to run safely again, but if you do, you're going to have to do these things. And so I had to lock into my nutrition. I had to cross-train like crazy in order to strengthen my body, because the main thing that was wrong with me, an injury, was back issues like back spasms, leg issues. I needed to build strength. So I did just that, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it one more shot. And so we go into 11th grade cross country, and I finally get healthy. I'm cross-training like crazy, working my butt off, and like I get some decent times, but I'm not satisfied. So track rolls around. I'm like, okay, I got to break 5 minutes in the mile. And so I lock in even more, and nutrition, recovery, stuff like that. I finally break 5 minutes in the mile, and I'm like, is this all it is? And I think there I had to shift my mindset to more of just like, don't chase records, but just run with intention to just get better every day. And it's not just about chasing times, because once you set your goal, then you're just going to go to the next one. It's not about that. It's honestly more about the relationships you build, and like these guys, and the people you meet along the way, and the relationships that you maintain through running. It's honestly unmatched, and I'm just happy to be able to run and be healthy again. And this brings us to this year, when I'm decided not to do track or cross country this year. I'm like, all right, I'm going to lock in to long distances. And again, God was wanting me to be patient, because that's something I definitely need to learn. And so he's like, all right, you got to hold off on this too, because I was training for my first marathon and ended up collapsing with 1 mile to go, which that's a hard pill to swallow, especially after training so hard. But we're currently building back, and I can be confident that I can trust God's timing and know that He will provide. And whether my future involves running professionally, just running casually, not running at all, I'm just happy to be here and just happy to be healthy right now. So, yeah. All right, for our second topic, it's how can runners correctly find the fine line between pushing their body and overtraining? In the sport of running, it's so easy to get burnt out and not optimize our training and performance. So basically, how hard can you work while optimizing it and not overtraining?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to remember is that bodies need rest. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It's like, if you're going every single day hitting the gym or something like that, like, strength training, something like that, you realize you need rest the next day. If you did hit a hard workout, you're sore the next day. Those muscle groups need rest. And running's a very similar thing. You're using the muscles pretty hard. And even though you may not be super sore a day after a run, maybe it's been an easy run or something, sometimes your body just needs rest. Different nutrition levels are low. Energy levels, like tons of stuff. You might not have gotten enough sleep or anything like that. And so rest days are a big important thing, and not overtraining. And a lot of people, I think, are too scared or something to take an extra rest day. They're like, oh, well, what is so-and-so going to say about me? They're going to say, oh, he's a wimp. He took an extra rest day. How dare he? He's not serious about training. I think there is obviously, sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to go run, so we just skip a run or something like that. But we also need to realize that sometimes if someone skips a run, it's not because they're weak. It's because they know what their body needs. And, if they push themselves out, they could have ended up in maybe a overtraining, like a injury or something, or maybe just, I don't know, a mental lull or something like that, Right. So I feel like rest days is one of the biggest things for me personally that I use when it comes to making sure I don't overtrain.
For sure. Recovery is one of the most underrated parts of that. People just think that you can train hard and not recover, but that is that couldn't be further from the truth. So, all right, Gavin, your thoughts?
All right. Your body will tell you what you need, right? If certain muscles are feeling sore or some days you just wake up and your legs are in a way that feels like you don't need to run. Well, your legs are telling you don't need to run. You probably don't need to run. But kind of like what he was saying, recovery is also important too. Building in habits, like taking ice baths, rolling out, doing stretching, mobility. Just all these little things that add up to help keep your body in shape and ready to run again. Nutrition as well, making sure you're eating enough, because as runners, a lot of times we burn a lot more calories than we think.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, take a look at us. We're like walking skeletons.
yeah, so like the 2,000 calorie recommended diet for people doesn't work for us.
It's true.
Because like, just know that nutrition plays a big part. Just focus on some of the small things that aren't running related. Because like, you can run all you want, but if you get hurt, what's the point, right? So listen to your body. Make sure you're doing the small recovery things that help. Find out what works for you recovery-wise. Like, some people do good with hot baths. Some people do good with ice baths. Some people do good with rolling. Some people do good with stretching. It's like, just find what works for you and then stick to it consistently, right? Don't just do it when you're hurting and need it. Do it when you don't need it as well, just to like help make sure you don't need it in the future, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
That's perfect. I agree with that. For me, I think the biggest thing is the mindset. I feel like people are in the wrong state of mind oftentimes with running. They get burnt out so easily, and it's not even more like physically, it's more like mentally. Like, they're just tired of the same old. And I would encourage people to try new routes, go somewhere different, hit a different path, something like that. Just don't let your mind wander while you're running. Like, it's hard to stay focused on that and be intentional. I think that's the biggest thing that separates good runners from great runners, is people like Eliud Kipchoge, people like that. They have the best mindset of any runners. They might have a lot of talent, but some of these people came from really, really poor places. They were probably malnourished and stuff like that. And so it's really important to focus on the mental side of that, because being strong mentally as a runner is arguably just as important as being physically strong. So, topic 3 is your current running gear recommendation/rotation. So we'll start with you, Jude.
All right, yeah. So I'm kind of infamously known for my large shoe rotation. I've got a shoe to do just about any job. I've got, your standard for racing, track spikes, cross-country spikes. I have one of each of those. Then obviously a road shoe, for anything faster. I don't have a short distance racing shoe for a road, honestly. I had one, and my favorite was the Endorphin Pro 2. It was a cheap shoe. It's my first carbon-plated shoe. I broke 18 for the first time in that shoe, and I thought that was the shoe. I didn't think anybody else made a better shoe. And then my long-distance road racing shoe is the Nike Alpha Fly 2. I opted for the 2/3 just how it fits my foot better. I don't think it's necessarily a superior shoe. That's all personal opinion to me. Yeah. Then my best training shoe, I gotta say, I think my favorite one I've ever run in is gonna be the New Balance Rebel V4. Yeah, they just came out with the V5. Haven't tried it yet. I'm curious about it because it looks interesting.
Fleet Feet's piece.
Now, my current training shoe is what he's got me on, and I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know. I've become a little addicted. I use it for just about everything, even some, maybe not all out races, but if it's a technical race like a trail race or something like that, I'll use it. And that's the Nike Zoom Fly 5. Yeah, it's a heck of a shoe. It's got, I don't know, it's a little heavy, but it's got a carbon plate in there, so that balances with the weight pretty well. It feels like a normal shoe on your foot. It's got great balance to it. It's got the Zoom X foam in it from Nike, so top line stuff. And it's got amazing grip on it too. That's what I love about it. It's like, you can run in the rain, and some shoes, they're like, oh, you're sliding everywhere. You don't want to take a corner too quick or anything. And then, but like in the Zoom Fly 5, I don't even have to worry about that. It's got a great padding underneath, grip wise and everything. For shoes, that's all for my current type of stuff. Now I would say clothing and everything, my default is going to be Nike. I like the style, how it looks. I like how it fits. Quality is always good, and it's just a classic. Yeah. like you were saying. You can't go wrong with it. I think some people, they feel like, oh, you have to have Nike, and I'm not like that, but I definitely don't see a reason not to wear Nike if that's your style type of thing. I do also like a lot of the brand Rabbit. That's pretty good. A little too pricey. Little too pricey for my stuff, and hard to find good sales on it. But yeah. And then as far as watches go, I got Garmin 4Runner 255.
Garmin Yang.
Yeah, Garmin beats Koros. Yeah, you can battle out in the comments.
Shout out Ronan.
He won't comment. He won't.
Wah, wah, wah.
But yeah, it's served me well. There's some handy features on there. The predictions and stuff. My watch believes I can run a faster 5K than I can run. So that's like a little refreshing. I wake up in the morning like, oh, good sleep. Here's your predicted 5K. I was like, well, thank you. I believe in that too.
I think my conspiracy is they're trying to like use it as encouragement. It's not even like a realistic time, bro. Mine's like freaking 14:55. I'm like, I ain't running that, bro.
That is true. He can run a 14:55. I bet.
No. I ain't running anything under like 15:30. But yeah. All right, Gavin, your turn.
All right. For shoes, I'm going to try to make this quick. My recommended daily trainers would be the On Cloud Eclipse. They're really good for just any kind of easy runs, long runs, recovery runs, just anything. They're very cushioned. For workouts and races, I personally recommend the Vaporfly 3s. I have loved these shoes, gotten a lot of good miles out of them. For some other stuff that aren't shoes, for nutrition, I like Honey Stinger for their gummies and their waffles for pre-race, pre-long run, pre-workout, just any pre-run stuff. And then for gels, I like Goose gels. I'm a Garmin person. I'm definitely more of a half tights and a split shorts kind of person.
This guy.
I just enjoy compression. It helps a lot with my legs. Cut that out, please. Please, cut that out. Oh, thank you, man.
What a way to end that, bro. All right, for my current shoe rotation, it's the Nike Zoom Fly 5s and the On Cloud Runners? Cloud Monsters, there we go. And I normally rep the Nike singlet. I also like Fast Break singlets, just a local running store. Shout out Fast Break. Make some great gear. As for like hydration and stuff, Liquid IV, it's that gas, bro. It's so good.
Element is debatably more effective, but taste-wise.
But Liquid IV is like low-key addicting. But yeah, Goo Gels and Honey Stinger, just like Gavin, Honey Stinger shoes. And so yeah.
On that note, for my nutrition, well, as far as nutrition like during a run and everything, I don't use Goo. I don't like the flavor. I don't know, it's weird. And like the consistency, I can't get around that. I use Morton. Morton is my type of
Bro,
stuff.
Raw Dogs, flavorless gels.
Yeah, but they're more effective. They're more effective. And the drink mixes and everything, you can put some flavoring in there or whatever. But the Morton gels, that's what has gotten me through a lot of tough workouts.
That is very valid. I have heard good stuff about it. And as for number 4, this one's kind of going to be a controversial one, and it's relative. But what is the ideal mileage for runners? We'll start with Jude.
Yeah, so that's going to really depend, in my opinion, on what distance you're racing or what you're training for. 100-meter race guy, he doesn't need to be running 70, 80 miles a week. I mean, if he is, obviously, a lot of his running is going to have to be speed work, which that's hard to get high mileage with for that. But then a marathon runner, you need to be running definitely more than 30, 40 miles a week. I mean, the race is half of that distance already. So, it depends on that. But for me, if I'm training just for like a 5K, cross country. I never ran track, I only did cross country. So 5K was my event, quote unquote. And so for me, I think peak was like 50 to 60 miles was like perfect for me. I wasn't getting injured, with cross training and everything. But at the same time, I was gaining a lot of fitness and everything. So, yeah, my recommendation is building up slowly to 50 or 60 miles for 5K distance.
I agree with that. All right, Gavin?
All right, so the way I view it is mileage depends a lot on your body and how you handle and respond to mileage. Some people can't build up to high mileage no matter what they try, and then some people just naturally have a higher tolerance for mileage. So, like, For me personally, during summer training for cross country, I'm comfortable doing 70, 80-mile weeks, whereas other people might be comfortable doing only like 40, 50. I don't think there's a necessarily correct mileage to be running, and ready for the harder sessions and not compromising your strength and speed work over mileage, if that makes sense.
That's a good take. I completely agree with that. I think it changes from person to person. Like these two guys have said, I think if you're training for 5K to half marathon, I think 40 to 60 is probably ideal. Me personally, I like to do 60 to 70, but I think the more mileage you run, while still obviously listening to your body, that's the biggest thing. You got to see how your body reacts to higher mileage, experiment, like become a mad scientist with your running. Like you got to research, you got to write stuff down, you got to just become obsessed with the craft that is running. And for me, 60 to 70, like I just said, is good for me for all distances. So like I got to take my easy runs easy, so I make sure that I'm recovered from my workouts. That's the biggest thing. I used to do my easy runs way too fast. I think these two guys can attest to that. I'd be doing like probably sub 7.
Every single day, workout or not.
Yep.
It was sub 7 pace.
Normally getting a segment 2, so yeah, sub 7. Heart rate was in the 170s. So I've learned to slow it down a good bit. Try to get 140 to 160. For our last topic of the day, it's going to be, what's your best advice for new runners?
Okay, so one of my biggest things is start out slow, Well, if you're starting running, okay, first of all, congrats. You've decided to do a hard thing, okay? So welcome to the family. Thank you. And you're not going to regret it. So now how you go about that is going to be vital, because a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to go run 10 minutes every single day. Which, hey, if that works for you, do it. Whatever works. That's one of the big things. But obviously you don't know what works before you start. One of the things that I've found when I'm talking to people who want to get into running, my recommendation, what worked for me and everything, is going to be combining walking and running. So, find a time that you want to spend exercising, whether that's outside on the treadmill, whatever, or maybe you have like a indoor track or something you have access to. And, I would say, obviously, if you're trying to run, then I would start off running. But don't be afraid to have to walk, A big thing that I've seen that works really well is going to be jog for 2 minutes, walk for 1, and jog for 2 minutes, walk for 1, and do that combination until you reach your goal time. And I would say don't ever be afraid to have to walk. I feel like people are like, oh, well, they're gonna see that I walk, or they're gonna hear that I walk, and I don't want to lie about oh, I ran the whole thing or something. So I don't want to do it at all, because I'm afraid of what they're going to say or something. And I'm like, and I don't know, that doesn't sit well with me at all, because I think they should be applauded for the effort that they did put in, no matter how much they had to walk or how little they had to walk. It doesn't matter to me. I just think it's great that they did anything, honestly. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be build from doing nothing. So something is infinitely more than nothing, obviously. From a mathematical point of view, 1 is infinitely more than 0. So if you run 1 minute more than you did yesterday, then you've already accomplished an amazing task. So yeah, so start out with something, and don't try to rush it too much. Don't go out, run 5 minutes one day and say, okay, well, I'm gonna go sign up for my first marathon. That's probably not gonna work out too well. You're probably gonna get hurt, and you're probably gonna regret that. So I would say, yeah, just start out slow, and don't be afraid to take it easy. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think one of my favorite quotes is, comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah. So basically what that means is, if you're constantly comparing yourself to others, you're never going to be at the level that you want to be, because then when you're better than this person, it's going to be like, oh, well, I'm not better than this person. And it's just this endless string of things. So honestly, compare your times to your times. I think that you should compare your times more to your progress than just comparing yourself to another runner or something like that. So leading into Gavin.
All right. My advice for new runners is just going to be to stay consistent and don't give up. And whenever you look at these runners who are faster than you, or run more than you, or in a better position than you, realize that they all start at the same position you're starting at, right? Every runner has started at some point in their life. Don't get discouraged and don't give up. Just stay consistent, and if you put in the work, pay off in the end. So, yeah.
My biggest piece of advice is don't do too much too quick. You don't need to just jump in and go straight into 70 miles. Like Jude said, work your way up, and don't think that tomorrow you're going to be able to run like a 15-minute 5K. It takes a lot of time. These guys have been grinding for years, and we're just now getting to the place that we're probably semi-happy with, I would say. I wanted that elusive sub 5-minute mile for literally like 8 years, and it took time, and there's no need to rush it. Consistency takes time, and you have to build a solid base. I think another thing is training smart, not just training hard. Being smart with your training, your nutrition, being locked into all those aspects, not just, I got to work hard, I got to run 100 miles a week or else. Like, that isn't always optimal. You got to be getting sleep. You got to be eating healthy. You got to be doing all those things if you truly want to lock into stuff like that. Running is easy to do. Just about anybody can do it, but it's hard to master. You just have to stay consistent with it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels at
Jude Seibert,
Hayden Pretty.
And Gavin Atkinson.
We'll see you all in the next episode.
All right.
I was trying to say, please sponsor us.
I
just stuttered.
flip, chill.
Oh my
We're
god.
not taking this seriously.
We're having too much fun with this.
As I was saying, my favorite shoe is the New Balance Rebel V4.
Fleet Feet, please. You try to say it.
Fleet Feet, please sponsor us.
Not that deep, bro. Fleet Feet, please sponsor us.
You stuttered too.
Fleet Feet, please sponsor us.
Fleet, please sponsor us.
Please, we're
Fleet Feet, please sponsor us. Thank you.
Please.